how your mother emotionally controls you, or more specifically, how a narcissistic mother emotionally controls you. I'm trying to speak in a very low voice because it is 12:30 in the morning. It's actually midnight, and I'm recording this out of frustration because my mother never ceases to inflict her emotional torture and abuse on me. And I really want to sympathize. I just, for the sake of wanting to heal and for the sake of wanting to forgive her, because I want to get to a place where I really, really forgive her and I don't let all the hurtful things she does get to me. For the sake of trying to heal, trying to forgive, trying to be a better person, I always want to sympathize with my mother in terms of like how she grew up, what made her to be this person. But honestly, sometimes there's only so much sympathy I can give to this woman who continues to hurt me. Today, I went to a friend's place. So there is this family that I've been getting close to, and I'm just so grateful to God for this family because I've always just only been close to my immediate family. So my family and I, we are not really close with our extended family. And so it's always just been my immediate family, just my mother and her children, my mother and my siblings. And those were just really the only people that I just always knew that, okay, these are the people who love me and these are the people who cared. And part of that, yes, it's a natural way to think that, yes, my family's got my back and nobody's going to love me like my family or nobody's going to love me like my mother. But part of that, I now firmly believe that it's something that my mother inflicted because my mother would say things like, oh, you can't trust friends or you can't trust like a husband. They've been always, for as long as I can remember, she has always made these comments of not being able to trust other people. In a way, she was actually kind of conditioning us to just only depend, to actually be codependent, which is very unhealthy, to be codependent on one another and to kind of like not really branch out and trust other people and kind of just have meaningful relationships with other people. Yes, she has never said no to having friends. She has never been that kind of mother. I'm not going to lie. She has never been like, oh, don't be friends with so-so. She was never that kind of woman. But the comments, because whatever your parents or your mother believes in and they continuously share about it, in a way you start to believe it, because obviously this is your mother and you've lived the longest with them, if you grew up with them, if they raised you. And so I think part of just not trusting people and not really having meaningful relationships with other people, for me there's always been this distrust, if that's a word. I've never really trusted other people because I've been indoctrinated by my mother to believe that, like, oh, people are just gonna do you wrong. And these again go back to her own personal life experiences where, friends betrayed her, her own family betrayed her, maybe lovers betrayed her, and because I think she never took the time to heal and address those feelings, she then projected and, would make these comments which in a way kind of indoctrinated us as her children, programmed us, conditioned us to also not really trust other people. And so now that I've gotten to know this family, which is like really a first time for me to kind of be close to another family in such a way, and especially to be close to a family that my family doesn't have any connection with, because there have been times where we would have a family friend and I think my mother would be okay with that because in a way she had control, in terms of that relationship, or she had a certain view, you know what I mean? And so in terms of this one, it's very excluded and I have intentionally done so that I don't want this family that I'm getting to know, I'm enjoying their company, They're very welcoming, very loving, and they've also been like a very supportive system to me, especially the father of that family, who is a mentor to me. I've been very intentional about not wanting my mother, my family to get to know them, because I fear that in a way they're gonna take over, and that in a way, because in this family, my goodness, in this family, there is no sense of individuality. And I think I've said this in another episode. There is no sense of individuality where you can just have your own friends or your own people that you know, and those are just your friends. Yes, it's okay if your family knows your friends, you can introduce them, maybe they come and visit, but I feel like there's a line that needs to be drawn, and I feel like my family somehow thinks like your friend should be like the family friend. That's not necessarily true. Like, you might know who my friend is, but there is a line, there is a relationship that is exclusive, for me and that person. And that person doesn't necessarily have to be like a family friend, whereby now the relationships are so intermingled in such a way that you can no longer, if like I introduced a friend to my family, the way that my family wants it to be is like the relationship gets so mixed up in such a way that you don't even know that my friend is my friend. It seems like, oh, that person is just like the entire family's friend, just a family friend. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I've always tried my best, and I'm still trying to sympathize with my mother, but she really frustrates me. She really, really frustrates me. So today I went to this family that I've been getting close to, that I've been doing my best to make sure that my family doesn't get close to. Because in a way, I fear that they're going to steal that away from me. And that's just the honest truth. I feel like they're going to steal that away from me. I feel like they're going to take that away from me by their charm, by them, being likable, being lovable. And being lovable is not a bad thing. It's just the fact that for them, it's narcissistic. And there's just no other way to put it. Obviously, someone who's very narcissistic, they believe they are all this and that. They are so lovable, and just people want to be around them. And I've seen it happen before, whereby when I try to establish a certain relationship, and not even a romantic relationship, because I've never introduced like a romantic partner to my family, just, a friendship or working, whatever, I've always noticed that there's a sense of like taking over, because my mother and my sister believe that they are so lovable. And somehow I feel like I get shoved away, almost emotionally, not necessarily physically, because, physically I might also still interact with the person, but I feel like emotionally I'm shoved away, and it's almost like, oh yeah, we are the lovable ones and you are the reserved one. And so obviously this person loves us more than you, even if I am the one who would like in a way introduce that person to my family. There's always this impression. They don't say it. They don't say that, oh, this person actually loves us more than you. But it's in the way they carry themselves. I mean, they do say that, they love us. That is something they would say, like, oh, like so and so enjoys being with us. They love us. But they wouldn't necessarily say, oh, so and so loves us more than you. But there is like an impression. There is like, I don't even know what's the word. There is a way about the way they interact with this person that maybe I might have introduced in the family, that kind of gives off the message that, oh yeah, like this person enjoys us more than you. And that's always left me feeling so small, and so feeling like I'm not good with people. I feel like my social anxiety also comes from my family making me feel that way, acting like because I have a down to earth personality, I'm more reserved. They've always acted like, people don't enjoy me, And funny enough, I'm really settling into my personality, and I'm understanding that the people who are meant to be in my life, they will actually enjoy my company. And I'm starting to see, like, for example, with this family that I'm getting close to, I'm realizing that people can enjoy my company without me feeling like I have to compensate or, be talkative, be super social, which I'm not. I'm just not. I'm a down to earth person. I'm a calm person. I'm reserved. I'm not super hyper. I'm not super talkative. And so my family, in a way, when we would have a family friend or a mutual friend, they would make me feel like obviously this person loves them more because they are talkative, they are social, they are funny, they are this and that, and I'm not that. That is how they've always made me feel. And I feel like I always have to say this, like, I don't care. I don't give a flying cow if they don't think they've done that, because my feelings are valid. My feelings are valid, and what I have felt all throughout the years has been valid. And they always like to invalidate my feelings, because if they heard this, they'd be like, "No, we never said that. That's not how we meant to make you feel. How could you think that? Because we love you." That is like their favorite line. When someone hurts you and they be like, "How could you think I want to hurt you? I love you." I don't know. I don't care. Like, clearly you have a very messed up definition of loving someone, because you are treating me in a very opposite way. You are making me feel unloved, and yet you say you love me. And so today I go to this family. Um, there was a family member that my mentor wanted me to meet, family members actually. So I go there in the afternoon. I think it was around 4. I tell my mother that, hey, I'm going to this place. I'm just honest. I'm like, I'm going to this family. And as much as I've done my best to make sure that my family doesn't get close to this family, I'm also just being honest that this is where I'm going. And I don't really share much about this family because I don't want to give them any information or indulge my family when they try to like pry and find out more about these people. So I don't share much about them. But I tell my mother that I'm going to go to my mentor's place. My mother doesn't even know he's my mentor. Like, I feel like she'd be very jealous of that, because a narcissistic mother thinks that they are the center of their child's lives. So I think she would be very jealous of that if I said that this man was my mentor, because she thinks that she should be the center of my life. And someone being my mentor doesn't replace my mother's role. But at the same time, my mother's role to me is just a bit foggy. So I don't know if even if her role really means much to me, but that's neither here nor there. I tell her that I'm going to this family. We're just gonna have like, a chill night, play games, eat and whatever. And I say I'm gonna come back at 7. And I wanna admit here, I wanna admit my mistake. I wanna admit my fault. I say to my mother, I'm gonna come back at 7. Okay. And then I go to this place, I meet the family members, we chill, we play games, like board games. And then at half past 6 p.m., I give my mother a call. She doesn't answer phone. I send her a voice note on WhatsApp and I tell her that, I think I'm going to stay a bit longer because the father was actually cooking, and he was like, please stay for the meal. I tell my mother that I'm going to stay a bit longer. I'm going to come back at 9. Okay. We stay at 8, we have a meal, we eat. 8:30, we are done. And then at 8:30, an interesting, very riveting conversation starts between, all of us, between myself and the family. Like, we're just talking about faith, we're talking about Christianity. It gets really interesting. And I look at the time, like while we're talking, and I see that now it's like 15 to 9. And I said I'd be home by 9, right? 9 p.m. But I'm just so like engaged in this conversation, and I'm just having a good time being with people. And keep in mind, I was the type of person who had a very high level of social anxiety, because even just going to meet the family members, like, I was so stressed. Like, my social anxiety still kicks in. I will admit it's better than it was, because I would cancel plans when it comes to like meeting new people or going to a group of people. Like, in the past, I would have completely cancelled or made an excuse to not go and meet the family members. But I pulled up my big girl socks and then I went to meet the family. And so I'm just having a good time, and I'm even enjoying experiencing myself in this new way where I am interacting with people by simply being myself, where I don't feel like, they're not going to like me because I'm reserved. Because again, this is how my family made me feel, where I don't feel like they're not going to like me because I'm not as talkative. But I'm just like, I'm having a good time with these people. The conversation is flowing. It's nice. It's interesting. And purposefully, I actually just I was like, you know what? I'm going to chill. Even though I knew I said I would be back at 9 p.m. to my mother. So I will admit I was wrong, right? I am a woman in my late 20s, so freaking close to my 30s. And while I'm having this enjoyable, intriguing, refreshing conversation, I'm feeling guilty about the fact that, in a way, I kind of have a curfew. And hear me when I say, I am not the type of person who goes out at night. And this doesn't even necessarily qualify as like going out, because it's not like I was out clubbing, being in a party. I was just having dinner with another family. And so here I am, a woman of my age, because obviously I still live at home and I respect my mother's house rules, okay? Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to disrespect my mother because now I'm like, yeah, mom, I'm old. I can come back at 1 a.m. in the morning. That's not me. That's not the type of person I am. And I hardly go out, like at night. Like if I do meet someone, it's usually during daylight, not at night. And so there I am. I'm enjoying this conversation. But at the back of my head, I know that, you know what, you should be leaving. I know that I should be leaving because I know like my mother is going to have a tantrum, like the child that she actually is, because she is like, again, I just don't want to sound like I'm disrespectful to my mother because I'm so mindful of that. But at the same time, I have to be factual, and sometimes stating facts about our parents, about, my mother, it seems like you being disrespectful. But the truth of the matter is, the fact is, my mother often throws these emotional tantrums that are very unnecessary. She has childish traits or behavior at certain times. And again, this goes back to the fact that she's narcissistic, and narcissistic people, they are stuck somewhere. A lot of what I've heard when it comes to a narcissistic personality, there is a lot of, there is a child that was wounded, and never really healed. And so sometimes the behavior does appear childish. Okay, so I'm enjoying this conversation, but at the back of my head, I know. But at the same time, it's almost like I was being rebellious, if I'm being honest. It's almost like I was being rebellious, thinking to myself, why should I just cut off this amazing social interaction, this amazing conversation with this amazing family, just for the sake that my mother just wants to treat me like a child? Like, she knows where I am. I told her where I am. Then 9:30, she calls, and I already know, like, and if you are raised, if you have been raised by an emotionally abusive mother, narcissistic mother, you know that feeling you get when you feel like, I know she's angry, and you kind of get that fear that in a way she has kind of trained you to feel. And I get that fear. I'm like, and it annoys me that even at my age, I kind of get that fear as if like I'm a 16-year-old who has stayed out way too late. It's just, it annoys me, because honestly, in as much as I'm really, really respectful of my mother's home, at the same time, I'm like, this is not something I do frequently. Like it once in a while, and I'm old. Like, can we just at least loosen up? Because I am a grown adult who is nearing her 30s, so freaking close, like 5 minutes away from my 30s. 9:30, I get the call. she calls me and I know, and I just feel that feeling of like, oh yeah, I'm in trouble and fear. I I I take the call aside and she's like, really, really, you're still not back. And because I've been there before, yeah, I think like maybe a couple of months ago, and I came back at around 9, and then she says like, oh, this is what you do whenever you go to that house. And then I just know I'm in trouble. And you know what I hated? I it wasn't that she was concerned, about my safety. And it wasn't necessarily that I'm breaking some house rule. That was really just the issue here. It was just a matter of having control. And I know I might sound like I'm being unreasonable, and someone might be like, no, you are living in her house. And if you say you're going to come back at 9, come back at 9. It doesn't matter how old you are. But I've been in this situation for way too long for anyone to invalidate my feelings, and the fact that I know that this was not about the fact that she's concerned as a mother. Honestly, I even doubt if this woman can genuinely be concerned about me. Like, that's where I'm at. I don't know. I don't know. Because living with a narcissistic mother is very confusing. You don't know what's real. You don't know what's genuine. You don't know what's authentic. You don't know if she really means it or not. It's just confusing. It's emotional torture. It's emotional confusion. It's mental confusion. What I know for sure is that this is just an emotional control tactic. Like, it's also the fact that, yeah, I'm in her house and she gets to control me. But at the same time, it's like, because I haven't involved them in this family, there is, I think, maybe jealousy and annoyance from her side that I don't even know these people. And how dare you, stay up until 9:30. Like, 9:30 is not even that bad. But again, I don't want to justify my actions. I did say I am someone who lives by my word. I did say, firstly, I said I'd be back at 7. I postponed that, but I did inform her. And then I said I'd be back at 9. And then it was 9:30. And like, when 9 actually hit, I didn't even inform her that I'm going to run a bit late. So, yes, I am at fault. I am at fault. Okay. So 9:30 she calls, and then, I can hear she's angry. And then I remember just sitting in the sitting room because the family was in the dining room. I took the call in the sitting room. After I took that call, I told her that, okay, I'm going to come back. She hung up the phone, and then I sat on the sofa just alone in that space and just feeling like I'm so controlled. This is being controlled. This is not some motherly care, like mother watching over me. No, I am being controlled. Took a breath, went back to the dining table, and then let them know that, hey, I gotta go. And then they dropped me off here at home. Um, I'm just, my goodness, I'm so tired. I came back. My mentor just told me that I need to humble myself because I was actually so upset. I was upset and scared. Again, that feeling of being scared. I I actually realized something today, that the kind of relationship that I have with my mother, there's like emotional fear. That is how she gains control. It's not through genuine respect, where I'm just like, you know what, I genuinely respect my mother and I don't want to do this or that. And in as much as I do, I think, but that's a personal conviction for me to like genuinely respect my mother. It's not something that I feel like she taught us. I think her way of like raising us has been based on fear, where, she wants us to fear her and just feel her wrath, just feel my anger. Because I actually did record another episode where, my family was giving me the silent treatment because I came back at 9. And at that time, I did say I was going to come back at 9. I did say. But anyway, this is just how she she gains control. This is how she emotionally controls me, us as her children. But unfortunately, once again, my sister is as narcissistic as my mother. So I just, yeah. So I come back and my mentor just tells me, just humble yourself and apologize. And yeah, I humble myself because I was in the wrong. I come back, I ask my sister to open up for me. And then I go to my mother's room and I knock and I ask her if I can come in. And then she's like, she's sleeping. What do I want? I tell her that I just wanted to apologize for coming back late. So I got it home at like 15 to 10 or around 10 at that time. And then she said, like, she's already sleeping. We'll talk tomorrow. Here's what I know will happen tomorrow. I'm going to get the silent treatment, which is her favorite way of punishing me, of punishing us as her children. Again, very childish. Very, very childish. This is a grown woman. This is a mother. This is an adult who should be able to express when she's not okay with something. So instead of like just maybe shout and yell at me if that's what you want, but instead she will want you to kind of suffer, just knowing that she's not talking to you. She's not saying anything to you, like in a way making you feel worthless, like you're not even worth me saying anything. And then eventually it just dies down and then you see her talking to you and then, you move on because you take the cue from her that okay, now it's cool. I know tomorrow there's going to be the silent treatment. I am going to apologize because I was in the wrong. And what often happens in these relationships is that it gets so complicated to such an extent that even when you are wrong, you feel abused, you know? And I feel like it makes the emotional abuse, even more because obviously I'm a human being. I'm going to make mistakes. I mean, sometimes with my mother, I would be made to feel like I've made a mistake even when I haven't made a mistake. And that's just part of her narcissistic torture. Now imagine how much more when I have actually made a mistake and I'm in the wrong. And in this case, I am in the wrong because I said I'd be back first at 7 and then I moved it to 9. And then by 9:30, I was still not at home. So I am in the wrong. So the torture is even multiplied, There isn't a productive way of dealing with each other's faults, of her as a mother productively, effectively, just dealing with the fact that, hey, you are wrong, sitting me down and just talking with me and saying, I don't like that you did this. You should have done. There isn't a fruitful conversation. There isn't just a grown up, mature way that she deals with it. No, she's just going to give you the silent treatment. I'm so tired of this. I am so freaking tired. I'm over it. I'm so over it. And I think sometimes it makes the healing process even harder, to heal and forgive them because at the same time, in as much as my mother and my sister are still narcissistic, emotionally abusive, psychologically abusive, and they're not even aware of it because they love me. Love me my foot. It's making the process harder because it's things like this that kind of just, in a way, it feels like it's adding salt to the wound. And I keep trying to heal the wound, and not by my strength, by God's strength, obviously. He's taking me through the journey of healing. But it feels like every time I try to cover up that wound, there's salt, by things like this, by this immaturity, by this childishness, these tantrums that my mother throws. I just can't do this anymore. I've heard it being said so many times that in the long run, there is no way you can make a narcissistic relationship work because this person might forever be narcissistic. And the more I stay here at home with my mother and my sister, who are both narcissistic, very toxic, and not even aware and not even willing to change, not even willing to be aware of it, the more I realize that it's impossible. Like, I try to be forgiving. I try to not take some of the things they do personally. I try to let it slide. I try to be reasonable. I try to be humble. I try to be respectful. I try my best. But at the end of the day, it just feels like it's not enough.